Morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us at today's press conference. My name is Barry L. Wells, and I serve as Special Assistant to the Chancellor and was a member of the Director of Athletics Search Committee. By now, you know why we are here, who we are introducing as the new Director of Athletics, and clearly is an exciting day for Syracuse University and all fans and supporters of SU Athletics. I'm going to introduce a very important person here in a moment, but first let me start by welcoming the students, coaches, the support staff, faculty, trustees, alumni, friends of SU Athletics, and members of the media who are gathered here today. As I mentioned earlier, I'm one of 9 people selected by Chancellor Syverud to serve on the search committee to identify, recruit, and recommend outstanding candidates who could lead Syracuse University's intercollegiate athletics program. The Chancellor consulted widely and gave considerable thought in identifying the scope and responsibilities of a new Director of Athletics, as well as the experiences and skills he wanted in that person. Chancellor Syverud then told the search committee to focus on finding candidates with those abilities and attributes. Now, that might sound like a reasonable task to some, but to find such an outstanding candidate in an expedited time period by a group of smart, opinionated, passionate, and assertive individuals was no easy task. To be honest, we needed a savvy and effective leader to help us complete our task in the time period allotted. One of my favorite coaches, Pat Riley, said, "To have success as a coach or in any position of leadership, you have to be obsessed in some way." Well, we were fortunate that our leader, the chair of our search committee, was obsessed with leading his team to complete its assignment on time. He made sure that we gave considerable amount of time to our deliberations, and as a result, we were able to reach consensus on our selections. It was a pleasure and an honor to be led by this person. And now I'd like to turn the program over to the chair of the Director of Athletics Search Committee and University Trustee, Steve Ballentine.
Thanks, Barry. Welcome, everyone. What a great day this is. On behalf of the entire search committee, I'd like to say how excited and supportive we are of the Chancellor's selection of Mark Coyle as our next Director of Athletics. Our committee, with the excellent assistance of Glenn Sugiyama and Pat Richter of DHR International, conducted a comprehensive national search, and we targeted the very best. I'd like to publicly thank the other 8 members of our committee for their excellent work on this important task. It was an honor to work with them on this search. In early April, the Chancellor appointed the committee and gave us our assignment. We began the search process by gathering input from a broad cross-section of stakeholders in Syracuse University and its athletic program, both on campus, from students, faculty, staff, and administrators, and off campus, from trustees, alumni, Syracuse and Central New York community leaders, and our great fans. While it was obviously impossible for us to talk to each and every one of the 20,000 plus people on campus, the 250,000 living alumni, and the millions of fans in the region and across the world, through this input process, each member of Orange Nation indirectly played a key part in this search. We used this input in conjunction with the committee members' own insights to derive a list of attributes the successful candidate should have, and we crafted the formal job description. The interest we received in the Syracuse University Athletic Director's position from so many extremely qualified candidates was deeply gratifying and should make all Orange fans proud. Mark Coyle clearly rose to the top of that incredibly deep and talented pool of candidates. An athletic director faces a challenging task in today's collegiate sports environment. Mark has shown proven success at every aspect of the job, at the highest levels of intercollegiate athletics, and done so with unquestioned integrity, focus on academics, and student-athlete welfare. Back in April, the Chancellor charged our committee to seek an experienced leader who will continue the university's legacy of integrity, strong academic values, respect for diversity, student-athlete welfare, competitive success across all sports, and fiscal responsibility. In Mark Coyle, the Chancellor has chosen exactly that leader. So now, on behalf of the Search Committee and the Board of Trustees, it's my pleasure to introduce Syracuse University's Chancellor and President, Kent Syverud.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Steve, both for the introduction and for fine service, both on the Board of Trustees and as chair of the Athletic Director's Search Committee. Steve did a great job leading this search, and as did his other committee members, and I thank all the members of the Search Committee and all those who helped with the search, including university leaders, the Board of Trustees and its Athletics Committee, the search consultants, the faculty, the staff, the students, the supporters of Syracuse University, who we heard from loud and clear throughout the process. This was an efficient and a very thorough search, and it was a committee that listened carefully to the community as part of the process. It was also, as Steve said, a search that attracted very strong candidates. Part of the reason for that is the proud history going back more than a century of Syracuse University athletics. Many people have worked to build that history, including many athletic directors, Jake Krauthamel, Darrell Gross, and most recently Pete Sala, who has served this university tirelessly and well as interim athletics director. Today is a happy day. It's a happy day for Syracuse University athletics. It's a happy day for Syracuse University academics. Most importantly, it's a happy day for Syracuse University students. It's a happy day because Mark Coyle has been recommended by our search committee as our next athletic director, and I will be enthusiastically presenting that recommendation promptly to our Board of Trustees for confirmation. Mark will be in place as athletic director in 14 days. I am confident that Mark is the right leader for Syracuse University athletics. He comes to Syracuse from Boise State University, and he has a proven record as an experienced and successful leader. He has built his career on strong academic values. He has built his career on a consistent and constant commitment to the welfare of students. Student athletes have many demands, but their priority is academic achievement. As a former football student athlete, Mark knows this priority and its challenges. Mark has helped students find success in sport, in the classroom, and in the community. He is consistently focused on developing students to their fullest potential, along with building a nationally competitive athletics program. He has also established himself as a dynamic leader in fundraising. Because this appointment is so important to our students and to all who bleed orange, I did a lot of due diligence on Mark Coyle. I spoke to presidents, I spoke to athletics directors, I spoke to coaches. They told me about a leader who works incredibly hard with great attention to detail. They told me about a leader who has thorough experience with all aspects of a competitive athletic program. They told me about a leader who they love to work with and they love to work for. They told me about a leader who is relentlessly ambitious for his school, not for himself. But most of all, they told me about Mark Coyle's values. To a person, they said Mark Coyle has absolute integrity and uncompromising loyalty to his school and to his students. I have moved my own family across this country several times to come to a new university. I learned long ago that you don't just throw your spouse and kids over your shoulder like a sack of potatoes to take a new job. Moving to a new university is a leap of faith for the whole family, and it requires tireless support and an openness to adventure from each member of that family. I am deeply grateful to Mark's wife, Kristen, and to their children, Grace, Nicholas, and Benjamin, for making this leap of faith together. And I ask everyone in the Syracuse community to support them in this great task. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Syracuse University's next athletics director, Mark Coyle.
Thank you, Chancellor, for those kind words. And what I'd like first to do is to take a second to introduce my wife, Kristen, Gracie, Nicholas, and Benjamin, and a dear friend of mine flew into town last night, Ed Lewis, so thank you for being here from that standpoint. Before I move forward, I want to make sure I take a second to recognize Boise State. President Custer and his wife, Kathy, gave me and my family an opportunity almost 4 years ago to be the athletics director there. I'm so grateful for that opportunity, and I'm so grateful for his support and leadership while I was at Boise State. And I can't tell you how hard it is to lead that staff back there. A lot of people in this room work in athletics, and you realize that the athletic director cannot do it without his staff. And I had an unbelievable staff back at Boise State, and I'm going to miss working with those people terribly. But again, I want to make sure they know how much I appreciate what they did for me in our program, and most importantly, our student athletes at Boise State who bought into what we were trying to do and believed in what we were trying to do to make that a better place and to provide a great experience for all of our student athletes. Again, I want to thank Chancellor Syverud for this great opportunity. I cannot tell you how excited me and my family are to be at Syracuse. It's something we've dreamt about, to be at an institution with an outstanding academic reputation, to be at an institution that has a phenomenal sports background, and I can't tell you how excited we are to be here and to help this program grow and do even better things in the future. I want to thank Steve Ballentine and the search committee. I also want to thank Lynn Sugiyami and Pat Richter. These things are very complex, and these jobs are very competitive. And I can't tell you how honest and forthright the search committee was with me, how Glenn and Pat were throughout the entire process, and I hope you guys know how much I appreciate that, so thank you to both of you. I want to make sure I recognize two people who've been very influential in my career. Mitch Barnhart, who's the athletic director at the University of Kentucky. I can tell you without hesitation that I would not be here today if it was not for Mitch. I spent 7 years working with him, and you will not find a better person. I also had the chance to work with Joel Maturi, who was the athletic director at the University of Minnesota. And when Chancellor talks about my integrity and my value system, those are two men who taught me a great deal about doing it the right way and being transparent and honest in everything we do. So I'm so grateful for their leadership, their friendship, and their mentorship throughout my career. As I touched on before, Syracuse is a special place. And I think sometimes when you're in Syracuse and you're in it day in and day out, you sometimes lose sight of what this program represents nationally and internationally. When this opportunity became open, I can't tell you how quick I picked up the phone and called Glenn, because I knew this was a special place. It's a special place because of its history, its tradition. It's a special place, and it's going to go through transition. But I promise you, I'll give you every ounce of energy I have to help this program continue to improve and grow. And my expectations are simple. I want to make sure that we provide a nationally competitive, broad-based program that focuses on every student athlete. We're going to get our degrees, and we're going to compete for championships. And I want to make sure that we all understand that. And I'll talk clearly with our staff and our coaches that we want to have a broad-based program that competes at the highest level in the ACC. And we're very excited about that process. Finally, I just want to make sure that this is for our student athletes and our coaches and our staff. We have a great responsibility to this institution, to this community and state. And I want to make sure that everything we do is first class. When we travel, when we go to class, when we compete, we want to do it the right way. Because being a student athlete is an awesome responsibility, and you get to do a lot of special things. And we want to make sure that we represent this place in a first-class manner in everything we do. So again, thank you for this wonderful opportunity, Chancellor, and we'll open up for questions.
Hey, Mark Larson from Time Warner Cable News here in Syracuse. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're obviously familiar with your two of your predecessors, Jay Krauthamel, Darryl Gross. Would you say you're more like Darryl Gross or Jay Krauthamel?
More like Mark Coyle. Yeah. You know, Mark, I have a great deal of respect for everyone who works in college athletics. These are not jobs, they're lifestyles. And again, I have great respect for Jake and for Daryl and for all athletic directors and athletic staff because, again, it's a 24/7, 365 type of deal that you get into. And again, we're very excited to be here and be a part of this program.
Mark, how you doing? Dan Tortora.
Hey, Dan.
To look at, I know you talked about your family and a lot of people that helped you along the way, morals and values, just what you kind of are driven by and some of those ideals that you have.
Yeah, it's I heard a long time ago, and I'm a big believer, and you'll hear me talk about this a lot. We want to make sure we live in truth always, and that we're very honest and transparent in everything we do. And I always talk about it. At the end of the night, you got to put your head on your bed. You got to put your head on your pillow at night when you go to bed, or in the morning when you're shaving or brushing your teeth. You know what's going on, and I want to make sure that I know what's going on, if that makes sense, and I want to make sure that our staff, our student athletes, and our coaches operate that way. That's very important to me, and again, that's a big part of my background and who I am and who I want our program to be.
Mark, I guess, I know you haven't been here too long, but your assessment from afar of kind of where the football program is and where it can go.
Yeah, well, I had a chance to talk briefly with Coach Schaefer yesterday on the phone. I had a chance to reach out to all the head coaches and just introduce myself from that standpoint. And what I've learned in my 25 years of being in college athletics is it's hard work. And I promise you, nobody wants to win more than Coach Schaefer, his student athletes, and his staff. And I get our fan base wants to win. I want to win, and again, I've got to get in here and take a look at what we're doing, and I promise you we'll give it every ounce of energy we have to help that program and all of our sports programs compete at a high level. But our expectations are we want to compete at a high level, and that means winning ACC championships and going to special bowl games.
Mark, Mike Waters. The basketball program recently went through an NCAA investigation. It's actually not over yet, pending an appeal. How much did you look into that? How much did you want to know about what was going on before you took this job?
I had a chance to read through the report and to get an understanding from that standpoint. I think that's important. I think my role now is to come in here and help the program. Obviously I have a great deal of respect for Coach Boeheim, and I mean, you talk about a person who is excelled at the highest level, and I look forward to having a chance to work with him and his student athletes in the program from that standpoint. But again, I did review and had a chance to look into it.
Mark, Nico Tamurian from NBC and CBS here in Syracuse. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
My question is, July 6th when you start, what's the kind of the first thing you want to assess, want to tackle when you get in here, and how will you spend these first few days and weeks on the job?
I think you have to do a lot of listening. Nico, I went through this transition about 3.5 years ago at Boise State, and I learned a lot in that transition. And I want to make sure I have a chance to sit down and visit with the staff, with the coaches and the student athletes to kind of get a pulse of where we're at and where we want to go from that standpoint. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of learning from that standpoint. And on a personal side, I want to make sure my wife and kids get adjusted well from that standpoint. So you're trying to be a husband and a father, but you're also trying to be an athletic director and help this program grow. But I can tell you we are so excited and eager to get here and get this thing going that it'll be a smooth transition.
Hi, Chris Bolt from WAER Public Radio. Can you share with us some of the conversations you had with the search committee and the chancellor about how you'll approach the NCAA sanctions and investigation, also given that you have a little history with that in Boise State? Yeah, well,
again, I talk about living truth. And what I mean by that is, when you get here, you have to evaluate and look at all the sanctions from that standpoint. But again, our conversations were not specific in terms of that. Obviously I understand what they went through from that standpoint. And again, the search committee was very honest and forthright in what this program's going through right now. And again, I think what attracted them to me and what attracted me to Syracuse is I've just gone through that process. And I think Boise State handled that process very well. I can't tell you the resources and the time we put in at Boise State, and I'm talking from President Custra to Kevin Satterley, who's the general counsel at Boise State, into our compliance department to go through that transitional period, if you will. And again, I feel very comfortable going through that here and talking with Chancellor Syverud and Dan French and those people. We'll be fine, and we'll work our way through this process.
Hi, Mark. Stephen Fonte from WSYR TV here in Syracuse. You spent some time at Kentucky, a basketball school. Spent some time at Boise State, a football school. You come here where football and basketball are both very important. How do you think that past experience has helped get you ready for this new adventure?
Well, I think it's critical, again, I want to focus on all of our sports. Again, if a young man or a woman has Syracuse written across their chest and they're competing for this institution, we want to make sure we do everything we can to help them to compete at the highest level. But obviously, spending 7 years at Kentucky and being close with the basketball program, I also had a chance to work very closely with Rich Brooks in our football program. And during our time at Kentucky, we went to 5 bowl games and had a lot of success. And then you have an opportunity to go to Boise State and go through that process and a chance to work with Chris Peterson, who obviously is widely respected and had phenomenal success there. And then with Chris leaving, having to replace him and get a new coach from that standpoint. But again, those have been great experiences. And again, I think it will serve me well here as we look to help not only the football and men's basketball program grow, but to help all of our programs grow.
Mark, I think, Syracuse fans have seen kind of some football programs in the ACC grow their brand by scheduling 4 manageable non-conference games. The philosophy here has been to really challenge yourself in one and take a tough one on. Do you have an overall philosophy in how you would like to schedule for football?
Well, I think you have to schedule in a way that gives you a chance to compete for postseason success. And obviously your goal is to win the ACC. And to get in that championship game, then that creates some special opportunities for you. If you look at what we did at Boise State, we were able to do home-and-home games with Florida State, with Virginia, with Oklahoma State. That's the first time programs like that have come out to Boise to play games from that standpoint. So, we want to make sure we schedule wisely and efficiently, if you will. But again, we want to make sure we give our kids a chance to compete for ACC championships and get that opportunity for a special postseason bowl game.
Mark Larson again. Obviously, you know how important the Smurf turf is to Boise and the Carrier Dome here at Syracuse. There's been some talk about replacing it, renovating it. Where do you lie with the Carrier Dome and its importance?
Well, obviously, I joked with the search committee, and I think I joked with Chancellor when I visited with them. Growing up in Iowa, I remember watching Syracuse basketball on ESPN. I felt like this institution was on TV every night from that standpoint, from Ronnie Cycli, Pearl Washington, and all those guys. And obviously that Carrier Dome has special meaning. And I think, I know there's been conversations about updating it and rating it a little bit from that standpoint. I'm anxious to talk with Pete to get his input and ideas on it. But that can be a tremendous recruiting tool for us. Our goal is to get 18-year-old kids to say yes to Syracuse. Don't get me wrong, it's all about recruiting. And if we can add that wow factor and increase with that great tradition and history there, we'll be okay from that standpoint. But the field will stay green. I do want to point that out. So.
Michael Waters again. Back in March, Jim Boeheim said that he intends to coach for 3 more years, which means you're on the clock for your next big decision. Did you think about that? Did you talk to the search committee about the line of succession and your thoughts on the idea of current assistant Mike Hopkins being a head coach in waiting?
Yeah, well, first off, I can't tell you how excited I am to have the opportunity to work with Coach Boeheim. He and I had a chance to visit on the phone yesterday, and again, I can't wait to have an opportunity to work with him from that standpoint. And again, we did have some conversations with the search committee and with the chancellor about Coach Boeheim and the basketball program, and obviously that's a critical piece of this institution from that standpoint. And we plan to have some more conversations and more announcements coming later on from that standpoint.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Mark. Appreciate everybody coming today.
Thank you.